I guess Mark goes first. There are questions, but I think, Mark, let's just kind of just go with the flow. I know Delta's on a lot of people's mind, but I think priority is for your wisdom to be shared first, and then we'll see where we end up.
Thank you. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome from. If you want to find out exactly where I am, firstly, of course, for those of you that aren't geographically familiar with New Zealand, we are not part of Australia. And if you find New Zealand, which is next to Australia, it's about 3.5 hours flight. If you look for the one at the top is the Fish, and that's the North Island. And then the one at the below that is sort of a long island with a pimple on the east coast. And at the base of that pimple is Christchurch. So that's where I'm from, and currently it's just after 6 in the morning on Saturday, one day ahead of you guys. Now, back in 2010 and 2011, Christchurch had a couple of earthquakes. We had one in September, and that didn't kill anybody, knocked down quite a few buildings. And then we had one in February of 2011. And we had 280, I think it was 285 people pass away during that earthquake. And many of those were in a building called the CTV building, which was the Canterbury Television building. And I used to advertise there. And so I knew a number of people there. And after the earthquake, I had 7 funerals in 7 days. And I don't recommend that for anybody. I'm sure, you know, with our current situation, many of you may have had similar experiences where perhaps families have been lost. And of course, your own 9/11 would have been, there would have been people there that would have lost multiple friends and family members. The reason I bring that up is that I want to discuss the role of historical trauma, because what many of us focus on is the now, which sometimes that's all we can focus on. But we also, in society, we only give a limited period of time for people to deal with a trauma. I'm not sure what you're allowed in terms of grieving for time off work. Here it's 3 days. So if you have a family member, and it has to be a close family member too, it can't be a distant relative, you get 3 days off work. So you get 72 hours to get your stuff together and then get back on the horse and keep going. And of course, for many of us, that trauma has residual expectancy. And I liken it to a snowball. And I covered this last time, but I thought I only had a short period of time and sort of crammed everything in. So I want to just actually revisit that a little bit more. In terms of trauma, so we had the earthquakes in 2011. And then in 2015, my younger brother at the age of 42 died of hypovolemic shock. And then while we were at his funeral over in Australia, my father fell in the bath and crushed his spine. He had had a kidney replacement and he was on immunosuppressants and prednisone, so his bones were a lot softer, but he crushed his L1, he cracked his L3, and he also cracked his T4, T6, T7, T9. And he was originally 5'8". And in 2018, while I was still in part of the GW Integrative Medicine program, he passed away. And he caught pneumonia, and he allowed that to take him because the pain was just, he couldn't take it anymore. So he started at 5'8", and when he finished, I would say he was 5'1". So there was quite a bit of compression there. And that trauma continues every now and then. We'll think of those things. So I told my mother and my sister, because I did eulogies for both the guys, I said, that's it, I'm not doing any more eulogies for quite some time. And many of us know of, or we have those same experiences. We didn't just have one little trauma, we had multiple traumas. Now, I'm a pretty balanced person. I I regularly meditate, and I'm also a karate instructor. So, you know, when life gets hard, I go and hit the bag, and I find joy and solace in that place. It's a special place, the karate dojo, because when you close the door, it doesn't matter who you are or what's happening in your life. You literally are in the now. But getting back to that snow situation, if you can imagine, every time you have a trauma in your life, it's like a flurry of snow coming down on the ground. But unlike a normal snow, where you might take joy in that and think, hey, we can go and play in that, I'm talking a blizzard. I'm talking a scary, almost hateful, vengeful kind of impacting storm that's coming, that really raises our stress response. But in that, once you've had that flurry of snow, then your own internal stress response begins to form a snowball from that. And you're given a short period of time to try and melt that ball. And then you're told to put it away. What's left is put away, stuck at the back of your mind in that closet where it's kept until the next snow flurry comes, the next trauma. And then it's coming out again, but it hasn't resolved itself, but now it's bigger. And then the next one, and it's bigger, and it's bigger, and it's bigger. And while I want to just perhaps say that we're all in a safe place, I hope we're all in a safe place right now, but I just want you for a moment just to consider the things that have been going on in your life. And I want you for a moment just to visualize your snowball. I want to also, though, just encourage you to realize that sometimes when we do that, just as you may have heard in my voice just a few minutes ago, when I recalled my father, suddenly the door opens and this giant snowball comes out and just catches us just for a minute. And sometimes it really catches us and we're overwhelmed and we experience an emotional response. And that's not so bad when we're by ourselves or with someone that we trust. But it can also happen when we're in public, when we're in a consultation. It can hit us anywhere. And sometimes too, that emotional protection that we think is there is really only sort of almost paper thin. And occasionally there'll be a response or a song or a memory or something, a photograph, and we'll see that, and that paper thin protection will be poked through, and that emotional resilience that we thought we had comes down for a moment. But I think that's, if it's done in a proper way, that's really useful, a bit like a pressure cooker. My mum and dad had a pressure cooker given to them for an engagement gift, and it had this valve on top, and that would over time, which is the important thing, because of course, as you know, if you stick that thing on the stove and you have no way of release, then you're going to end up with that thing going kablooey. And so by having that pressure valve there that can release, which is an important thing for us, but we don't do that often enough. So I want you just for a moment, just to close your eyes. And I just want you to think about knowing that you're in a safe place, just to recall some of those instances in your life, some of those things that have generated the snowball for you. And I want you to open the door and allow that snowball to roll out in whatever size it is. And I want you to visualize a warm, sunny day, which fortunately most of you in the United States are actually still enjoying, even though it's becoming nearly autumn. Here it's winter, and we didn't get any snow so far this year in town, but we got some out in the country. And I want you to visualize the sun. And I want you to take a warm breath in, and I want you, as you breathe in, I want you to feel that sunshine going in through your nose, into your lungs, causing a warmth inside. And then as you blow that out slowly through your mouth, blow on that snowball. Take another warm breath in. Blow out. Just watch that snowball just melt just a little bit. Another one. And this time restrict the breath. Just slowly, slowly, slowly concentrate on that snowball. Blow that sunshine on. Watch that snowball begin to melt. And just do that a couple more times. And so what I want to encourage you to do, it doesn't have to be every day, but it's useful if you can do this, just a small amount. Every day, visualize the snowball, and especially if you're going through trauma, if your snowball is growing, allow time in your day to breathe in the sunshine and to blow warm sunshine onto that snowball and watch that thing melt, become smaller and smaller. Because daily activity, rather than just being allowed to take that time, we've only got 3 days to do it. This way we can just pick our moment and allow ourselves just to step off the bus, get off the hamster wheel, and allow us to resolve that snowball, knowing that there's always going to be a bit there, but that we've got it under a manageable size instead of this massive thing that's going to come out and roll on top of us. So I'd like you to open your eyes now. I want to give you another visualization, which I find very useful. And again, I covered this last time, but again, I did that very quickly. So we're going to do this again together. And this one is on a breath technique, but I find many of my clients, they're too busy, and they're too busy being busy. And when I'm trying to get them to do a routine, their number one argument is, listen, I just don't have the time. So I have a 5-minute blink and breathe. And as recent research has actually shown us, you cannot count or do a maths equation and think. Even you ladies that can multitask, if you're focused on doing a task, a bit like going 1A, 2B, 3C, 4D, 5E, 6F, that's okay for a little while. But once you get to this sort of PQR, it's more difficult to try and remember where you're up to. And my visualization, again, if you're during the day and you're sitting in your office, or you can see outside a window, if you can find a cloud or a tree or a bush or something, maybe with a bit of movement or a bit of interesting architecture, something that your eyes can sort of explore, but do it in a sort of non-thoughtful way. You're literally getting lost. A little bit like as children, we had kaleidoscopes, those tubes with the colored glass at the end. And as we turned the glass, the different patterns would ensue. But in this, you're enjoying nature, finding patterns in the clouds. And at the same time, you're breathing in through your nose and you're counting. And then you're blowing out through your mouth and you're counting. And I originally encouraged people to think about counting into a count of perhaps 5 or 6, and then blowing out to a count of perhaps 9 or 12. But when I'm fully in my zone, I can get to about a count of 8, and I can get out to about, I don't know, a count of 30. So I want to do that. I've got another visualization that we're going to use with our eyes closed, but just with our eyes open, I'm just going to show you what I mean. I'm going to use my fingers because I can't count out loud and do the breath, obviously. So I'm going to use my hands to show you what I mean. So I'm breathing in and breathing out. So I got to 25. So it's a very slow breath. If you're breathing in too quickly and blowing out too quickly, you'll find you start to get a bit dizzy and floaty. And that's fine at the 2-minute, 3-minute level, but if you do that too quickly, that's just, you're going to be too much oxygen, and it's not going to be effective. You can even, of course, as many of you know, if you breathe in appropriately, you can get over oxygenated and under carbon dioxide, and I have seen people almost pass out. So the visualization that we're going to use together, I want you to close your eyes now. I want you to visualize, it can be a mountain scene, it can be a jungle scene. Maybe from New Zealand, you want to visualize a Land of the Hobbits scene, the beautiful mountains. I live about an hour and a half from where most of that scenery in The Lord of the Rings was shot, near a place called Methven. So maybe it's a mountain scene, and in the front of the mountains, there is a body of water, a lake, and the water is crystal clear. There's very little movement on the lake. It's almost a mirror, but you can actually see through the water. It's pure, there's no pollution. You can see the bottom. And in the middle of your lake, there is a bucket, and you can just see the rim of the bucket. Can you see it there in the water? And it's floating just below the surface, but the rim of the bucket is above. And as you breathe in, I want you to watch that bucket descend into the water. And as you breathe out, I want you to watch that bucket float back to the surface. And as you breathe in and watch that bucket descend, I want you to count as the bucket's going down, you're breathing. And now I want you to breathe out, but I want you to really restrict that breath. Purse your lips so there's just the tiniest of breath coming out, watching that bucket slowly ascend, counting as you go. And so while I don't, because our breathing rates are all different, I just want to spend a couple of minutes just doing that on our own. When you do the breath, see if you can just extend to one more as you breathe in. See if you can extend to just 2 or 3 more breathing out. Watching that bucket descend. And then bringing it back to the surface slowly. One more. When you're ready, open your eyes. And I really hope what that's done is just created a real sense of calm, a feeling of serenity, and also almost a feeling of nothingness. Whatever was going on just a few minutes ago, just suddenly for a moment, you've literally just found your own special dojo, your own place of sanctuary. And what you were doing there too is, as you were breathing in, the heart was increasing slightly in rate in order to pump in the oxygen, pump out the carbon dioxide. But also when you're extending the breath, you were slowing that heart rate down. And as you slowed that heart rate down, the stress hormones, the cortisol, the adrenaline was coming down. And by counting, just for those couple of minutes, you weren't able to think about the other things going on. And hopefully that's now allowed you to be in a place where you can enjoy our next speaker and fully take in what she has to share with you. And I want to say thank you very much for having me on your program today.
Thank you, Mark. It feels like the whole hour today is this deep submersion, which is great. But I do want us to take a little bit of time and answer questions, because I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of questions. Donna brought up a point about the article that, of course, it's on everybody's minds, that is currently not peer-reviewed, not published yet, but it's announced in the Med Rx IV, which is the pre-publication, basically showing that in states, the effectiveness of Pfizer vaccine, and it's an observational study at Mayo with over 4,500 patients, basically showing the efficacy of Pfizer went down in the last months from 76 to 42% for preventing infections. So I'll put the link to the article over in the chat. Don't panic. The vaccines are still very highly effective against severe illness and death. So that seemingly has not decreased, but unfortunately, the actual efficacy against any infection seems to be quickly decreasing. There is a push by the government, of course, to try to create updated versions of boosters, but nonetheless, I think that's yet to be determined. So, and Donna, I think your question was simply, just wanted to address this. One thing I want to bring to a comparison, which I think it's important, this similar assessment, but already published in peer review, and actually in New England Journal of Medicine, was just recently done. So that study was published a couple of days ago in New England Journal of Medicine. I can bring this up, but I don't think it's necessarily very relevant, showing that back in May, the vaccine was over 90% effective against Delta back then. And so obviously there is about 2 months difference time between data being collected. And so I think we're seeing that the Delta variant is, I guess, continuously mutating. That's all I can say. Or there's some kind of a shift in the viral behavior that allowing for escaping of the vaccine protection. So yeah, because of that, I think the boosters are going to be officially announced for general public very soon. And my understanding is that already more and more physicians are vaccinating immunocompromised patients on their own. And last week, am I freezing, or is my sound okay? Okay. And last week we talked about sort of how do you think about this. So I'm gonna bring up the actual question from. I don't remember who asked the question, so I'm sorry about that. One sec. I'm trying to get all my windows here. Okay. So it looks like the question was, it's not coming up. I don't know why I can't bring it up. I'm having a glitch. It's on my desktop, but oh, there we go. So the reasoning, so mix and match adeno with mRNA or only Pfizer and Moderna with each other. J&J has too many issues with their vaccine, and I would not take it, even if that was my option. So I don't think there's any answers for that. I wish I could give a definitive answer. You heard my statement, which was more of a intuitive statement that we probably should be getting an alternative vaccine. So if you had a Pfizer, get Johnson Johnson. If you had Johnson Johnson, get Pfizer. But I have to wait and support that with some kind of evidence. There are different vaccines in development. So we're gonna be talking about this soon. So it's possible that we're actually going to have, instead of a booster of the same brand of vaccine, we may just be getting different vaccines altogether. But meantime, I guess the assumption is that we're all going to be getting some boosters of either the one we had before. Although, again, there is no specific CDC guideline for that yet. So, and with that, oh, there was another question. The reasoning, I guess the question was, what's the reasoning? Like, does your body gets used up to a certain type of vaccine? I don't think so. I think the idea to try to potentially mix and match is that you may have a stronger, overall stronger immune response. If you have slightly different antibodies, so you have a kind of a broader range of protection. I think it's all theoretical. It's all kind of a thought process, but until we have the data, it's going to be very hard to make any of those statements with any certain degree of validity behind them. So let me see if there are other questions, and then we'll go straight to Catherine. Yeah, right. Thanks, Dr. Frame. There's a studies right now. I think there's more than one that's trying to compare different boosting strategies. And I guess everybody enjoyed Mark's part so much that everybody's still spaced out, which is perfect, because I was really worried about the panic today. But I'm glad there isn't any. And frankly, I don't think we should be panicking. I think all of this was already coming. We knew Israel. Israeli data is very, very consistent. It was like 46% effectiveness sometime in mid-June. So, you know, it is what it is. Okay, Catherine, thanks so much. Over to you.
Wonderful. First of all, thank you, Mark, for your session. I definitely am still a little spaced out in a good way. And so I actually, I was going to do some practices from a yoga nidra practice, so everyone might get a little more spaced out, but again, in a good way. For those of you who aren't familiar, yoga nidra, it's also sometimes called yogic sleep. A session will usually last about 20 to 30 minutes. I'll condense it today, but the belief is that about 20 minutes of yoga nidra equates to about 3 hours of sleep for the body. So it's very relaxing. You really don't have to do anything except relax and just listen to my voice. I will say, I will give you all now, as I'm speaking, feel free to get comfortable. So if you want to lay down or recline or get some pillows or cushions, please feel free to do so. Typically, it would be done with you laying down in Shavasana or relaxation pose at the end of it or during a yoga class. But it really helps your body to relax and let go. And of course, we all know that when we're in that state, that's when the body is able to do a lot of healing. So in line with what Mark was talking about with those, right, the traumas that we all have experienced and that we continue to experience, and even in hearing about this news, right, the panic that sets in, this can be really helpful for helping to calm our nervous system. So again, hopefully you all are comfortable where you are, even if you're seated. I invite you to close your eyes or hold a soft gaze forward, whatever is most comfortable for you. Your hands and arms can be relaxed in your lap, down by your side. Maybe if you want to hold them over your belly or your belly and chest. I invite you all to take a deep breath in through your nose. Exhale, side out. Maybe feel your shoulders relax down away from your ears. At this time, nothing else matters. Right now, nothing else exists but your body and your breath. Nowhere to go and nothing to do but simply be. This is time for you. Stay still, completely still now, so your body and mind can deeply rest and rejuvenate. Remain conscious and aware while you're guided. Allow yourself to keep listening. I invite you to imagine yourself now in a place that feels peaceful and nourishing, peaceful and sweet. This could be somewhere that you know or an imaginary place. It may be outside in nature that you like, such as at the beach or in the woods. Or it could be indoors on your bed, in a chair, or your favorite room. This is your inner sanctuary. Feel yourself here and begin to see all the surroundings. The colors, the light, any objects, any plants or animals, if there are any. See yourself here in this safe space, but mostly feel the energy here, the feeling of peace, comfort, nourishment. At any time during this practice, I invite you to guide yourself back here. If anything feels too intense, odd, or uncomfortable to you in any way, guide yourself back to your inner sanctuary. You can come back to this place anytime you would like in your waking hours as well. Your inner sanctuary is always here and part of who you are. Come back here when you want. It is part of your practice. We'll now move into a body scan as a way to bring more awareness into the body. As each body part is mentioned, I invite you to feel it without any movement. Palm of the right hand thumb, first finger, second finger, third finger, fourth finger, whole hand, wrist, forearm, elbow, upper arm, shoulder. Feel the entire right arm, hand, shoulder. The entire right arm, hand, shoulder. Notice the left palm, left hand thumb, first finger, second finger, third finger, fourth finger, whole hand, wrist, forearm, elbow, upper arm, shoulder. Feel the entire left arm, hand, shoulder. The entire left arm, hand, shoulder. Feel the throat center, neck and throat, jaw, mouth, lower lip, upper lip, between the lips, interior of the mouth. Feel all the surfaces in the mouth. Feel the mouth as sensation and energy. Notice the nose, right nostril, left nostril. Breath in nostrils. Feel the interior of the nose, exterior of the nose. Whole nose as sensation and energy. Notice the ears, valleys and hills of the ears, earlobes, backs of the ears, ear canals, inner ears. Notice your ears listening, receiving sound. Feel the ears as vibration, as wavelength. Feel the eyes, eyelids, eyelashes, surface of the eyes, centers of the eyes, the backs of the eyes, behind the eyes. Feel both eyes as glowing orbs of radiant energy. Notice the forehead, crown of the head, whole head, head and neck, throat center, chest, shoulder blades, space between the shoulder blades, heart center, stomach, ribs, solar plexus just below heart center, belly, navel, low back sacrum, navel center, the right hip, thigh, knee, ankle, foot, right big toe, all of the toes, the whole right leg, foot, and hip, the whole right leg, foot, and hip. Notice the pelvis, left hip, thigh, knee, ankle, foot, left big toe, all of the toes, whole left leg, foot, and hip, whole left leg, foot, and hip. Notice the soles of both feet, sitting bones, the space between the sitting bones, root center, navel center, solar plexus, heart center, throat center, the mouth, third eye between the brows, the crown. Notice the entire front body, back body, the right side of the body, left side, upper half, lower half. Notice the whole body, whole body, whole body. Observe your natural breath. Notice inhalation. Feel exhalation. Become aware of the pause. Once again, feel the inhalation. Without changing your breath, notice inhale traveling to your center. Natural inhalation. Inhalation travels to your core. Feel your natural exhalation. And as you exhale, feel the breath radiating outward through the limbs. Inhale, energy and breath flow inward to center. As you exhale, breath flows outward into arms, hands, legs, feet. Inhale flows to core. Exhale, like rays of the sun, breath shines out through your body. I invite you to keep breathing this way for 5 more rounds of breath. Inhale to core. Exhale, periphery. I invite you now to feel all the places where you touch the ground a chair, or anything supporting you. As feels comfortable for you, begin to sense your fingers and move them softly, gently, feeling sensation as you do so. Notice your toes. Begin to wiggle your toes. Perhaps gently rock your head side to side, bringing yourself to a slow awakening. Begin to draw a deeper breath into your belly, into your chest. And as you are ready, I invite you to make any gentle stretches your body needs in this moment. Anything that feels most comfortable for you at this time. Once again, take a deep breath in and out. Notice how you feel. And if it is comfortable for you, I invite you to draw your palms together at heart center, or place your hands over your heart center. And take a moment, sending an act of gratitude to yourself for taking time for you, for taking some time to be present and aware with your breath and in your body. And we all know you could be anywhere else in this moment. And thank you for allowing me to guide you this afternoon. As you're ready, you can open your eyes as we all come back together in our virtual space.
Oh, I say forget the questions. I need to go take a nap now.